Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA, let's go over the market and really just talk about what is happening to NVIDIA stock today on a pretty nice and impressive rally of about 3% on the day, which is very nice to see. Very, very important time to bring this up. I'll give you my thoughts overall moving forward. So as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my analysis, etc., I do share it every single day in my membership section, which I have a link to it down below for just $3 a month, where I mainly share updates on Tesla stock mainly throughout the day. Other stocks as well that I deem worthy sharing really of a setup. But for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just said, plus NVIDIA daily updates. But ladies and gentlemen, jumping into it, NVIDIA with a phenomenal day, actually 3% on the day, closing at 139 and change, which, compared to the market, you can argue that, it's just kind of moving with the market, because the market, QQQ is up an absolutely phenomenal amount today. Bouncing at a very crucial spot, actually, QQQ, right? QQQ broke out of this little trend line here, and then it came back and not only retested the trend line, it retested the 9 EMA and bounced off of both of those into a very, very impressive rally of about almost 2%. So you can argue NVIDIA is just kind of, oops, that's all. You can make the argument that NVIDIA is just kind of, running off of, QQQ's upkeep, if you will. But, it is doing something pretty important today, right? And that is going to be the fact that we did obviously get back above that 50 EMA, which is a nice sign to see. And I mentioned how, despite us losing the 50 EMA, which isn't ideal, of course, if there is a place for NVIDIA to potentially find, what could be an actual nice level of support and reclaim some important levels, the low 130s is where it's at. And that's exactly what happened, right? Now we're kind of still back in limbo land, unfortunately, right? Kind of like what we were back here. We're just right in between the moving averages now. We're in between the 50 as support. And of course, we have the 21 and the 9 as resistance. As you can see, we pretty much came up right into them and, are finding a little bit of resistance there. So this is where things are starting to get a little bit interesting, right? What comes first? Which one do we break down below or above first? The simplest way of putting it is this. On the daily chart, right? We'll go over the other time frames, but on the daily chart, if I see NVIDIA get essentially above 140 to 141, ideally 141 roughly. If I can see get above there and even turning into a support without just, obviously collapsing back under. So pretty much a daily close above it really would be, most beneficial. That'll be a very good sign for me. Why? Because not only are we turning, 141-ish into a support once again, in theory, at least if we close back above it, I would assume it turns into support after that. But, which has been, of course, an important level, but we also turn these moving averages back into a support as well. And that's where things can start getting very nice for the stock. And that's where I believe NVIDIA, assuming these, circumstances are met, can actually make a pretty nice recovery, and they can actually start joining the market in what could be a pretty nice looking Santa rally for NVIDIA. For instance, Tesla has been pretty much carrying the market. Let's just say the torch has finally passed back again, right? Because for a while, NVIDIA had the torch while Tesla was selling off. And then Tesla got the torch while NVIDIA is essentially selling off / really just doing a whole lot of nothing. So there's a chance that maybe the torch is passed over back to NVIDIA sometime soon. And then NVIDIA does this rally while Tesla begins this little cool off. And I think NVIDIA, assuming of course these circumstances are met and we reclaim 141 roughly, assuming those are met, I believe NVIDIA can easily get a rally. Honestly, even into the 160s up into New Year's roughly, right? I can see that becoming a very real possibility. And that's probably the main thing I'm eyeballing right now. I'm being very patient with the stock here. I'm not going in, not jumping the gun too quickly here. But this opportunity, in my opinion, becomes pretty valid, right? It becomes a pretty nice looking opportunity for NVIDIA if we can reclaim 141. Now, let's talk about the flip side, of course, right? That's not all good news, right? Because, we are still getting rejected, right? We aren't actually getting back above it. So there is a chance that this is a massive rejection, this very crucial area of resistance. And we, fall back down once again. And especially if we lose, this trend line / 130, well, things will get much, much uglier. And instead of getting a Santa rally, we'll get a Grinch rally for Christmas instead for NVIDIA. So it's not out of the woods yet, but I do think that, I like seeing these kind of false breakdowns, right? I like seeing these false breakdowns. I like seeing NVIDIA go down below like this and then just to reclaim it again. That I like to see, kind of like what it did here, and then it had a beautiful continuation rally moving forward. I like to see these kind of things, right? So that's a pretty good sign, in my opinion, seeing that yesterday was arguably a false breakdown. That's a good sign. I just want to see a little bit more follow through to really convince me that the stock is ready to finally move, which is essentially what I just said, reclaiming 141 roughly. And that to me will be a pretty positive sign moving forward. You can see the stochastic is also looking pretty damn good with a nice bullish crossover and a potential retest as well. So the stock, it looks like it wants to. I'm not going to lie. It looks like the stock wants to make its way up. and it wants to reclaim 141, and it wants to start joining this party that the market is having, just rocketing up essentially, right? So let's be patient. In my opinion, I don't think it's ready just yet, but it looks like it wants to be ready. It looks like it's really looking for any excuse to get back above and begin that Christmas rally. So let's just see. Let's let the stock tell us that it's ready. Let's not assume it's ready, because it's, as of right now, not yet ready. But yeah, that's probably the main thing I'm looking at. Now, the other aspects and ways to really just eyeball the stock is going to be the market bias and these emails on the 15-minute chart. 15-minute chart, if you just look at even just this scenario right here, you can see has been pretty accurate, pretty damn accurate. Now, it's not always accurate. Obviously, you get sideways action like this, right, where it's not very useful, of course. But when you're in a very powerful trend, like this massive, powerful downtrend, very, very accurate with the market bias and the moving averages. Powerful uptrend, powerful downtrend, and the 15 has actually flipped bullish once again. That's pretty nice, right? So that's step number one. I'd like to see that. Now I want to see the stock, which is kind of what it's doing right now, come back into these moving averages and hold them as support. This is what I want to see. And as long as we hold this area as support, essentially as long as NVIDIA, in my opinion, doesn't go too far below like 138 to 137, I think it's setting up pretty nicely on the 15-minute chart. And naturally, which of course, like we just mentioned and we talked about, the 1 hour and the daily, they're not showing signs that they're ready just yet, right? Because you can see the 1 hour, not ready just yet, right? We went above the 50 EMA, then we closed back down below it. Not ideal, right? But the moving averages are curling up. They're getting ready to cross over. And, this is a nice looking potential scenario here for a reversal. So this requires a bit more patience. And then the daily, of course, also requires a bit more patience. But the opportunity is there. But the reason I brought up the 15-minute first is because, well, what needs to be done for the 1 hour and then eventually the daily to potentially flip bullish? You need the shorter time frames to act first. And that's what's happening. The 15-minute is acting first, and it's not looking bad. It's not looking too bad, right? And if the 15-minute can turn bullish and begin this momentum, well, that's going to kind of almost like a domino effect. That's going to translate to the 1 hour. And the 1 hour will turn bullish. And then that's going to translate to the daily. And then the daily will turn bullish, right? So that's the kind of thing that I like to see here on NVIDIA. Again, if you want to be ultra conservative and a little bit more on the safer end, not take too many risks, if you will, I do believe that, a close above 140, 141 on the daily is ideal, and above these moving averages. That's where, the confidence should be a lot higher. But the 15-minute is almost as if it wants to tell us of things to come. So yeah, that's probably the main way I'm looking at NVIDIA moving forward. I think it seems like it's trying to get ready. It seems like it wants to start moving forward. And if I see NVIDIA move down tomorrow, honestly, down to 138 roughly, I honestly may start a position. I may start a position on that principle essentially that I just mentioned, because the 15-minute does look like it wants to move higher, right? The 15-minute does look like it's ready to move higher and begin that domino effect into the 1 hour, into the daily, etc. Take a look at the weekly chart very quickly here. The weekly chart market bias is still well below us, but the weekly, you can see, is actually not looking bad, right? The weekly is actually still holding the 9 EMA, which is a pretty damn good sign. Like if we can close the weekly above the 9 EMA, which is going to be sitting at around pretty much 138, really not a bad sign. Not a bad sign as well. That tells me the short-term momentum on the weekly still looks pretty good. Still looks pretty damn good. So yeah, that's kind of the main way I'm looking at NVIDIA right now, right? Without really overcomplicating things too much. It requires a little bit more patience in my opinion, but it does feel like it's really trying. It's really trying. And, let's see how it plays out. Now, obviously, the main risk is the fact that there is still this massive head and shoulders pattern. But sometimes I do wonder if this is just too obvious, right? We'll see. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. Nobody knows. But it just feels almost too obvious. Like, surely that's not going to do that. But we'll see. Let's, take it step by step. But I do believe that if we start closing back above 140, 141 on the daily, I do believe that there's a damn good chance that this inverted head and shoulders pattern will not play out for the bears. So yeah, let's see how it plays out. Let's not rush into it, but let's take a look at options flow very quickly. How is options flow looking for NVIDIA? It's going to refresh quickly. Give it a second. Boom. The bulls are dominating as per usual. No surprise there. The bulls are just permanently dominating the bears here, pretty much constantly. It feels like it's just constant domination by the bulls. Non-stop for NVIDIA. And in terms of options flow, NVIDIA actually confirmed almost 30 million options flow as well, which is always a nice sign to see. So it feels like the buying on NVIDIA is occurring kind of almost maybe behind the scenes. And, people are getting ready for NVIDIA to potentially make that move forward. potentially soon, in my opinion, potentially soon. So just needs that one extra push, needs that 141 closure. Or if you're someone that's impatient or higher risk tolerance, a 15 minute is telling me that it's looking like it wants to begin this move up. But yeah, all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And as per usual, I'll see you for the next one. Peace.